my name's Radiant Seela. I'm here with a deck profile for the Digimon card game. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. This one is themed through dragons, and it's based on the BT8 starter deck. No, not the BT8 starter deck. The BT8 booster and the BT10 starter deck from Imperialdramon. So yeah, this is an Imperialdramon profile, so you might have seen its likeness elsewhere. First for babies, we're doing 1 Upa with 4 Demi-V, and this is to draw as many cards as you physically can, right? You really have to keep up your hand advantage because you're playing a lot of different cards that you really want to see, so you just have to keep drawing. And I find with the current format and everything, people are hard casting a lot more cards. If you're in a mirror match, they might hardcast the Stingmon. If you're up against Mustamon, they might hardcast the Gatomon to get the Surge. So Upamon is actually just another free draw, and this one Demi-Vmon draws off jamming. And since the champion you want to evolve on typically has jamming, that's how you should probably go it. Okay, so next up we're running 4. Oh, yeah, misplaced those. That's good. 4 Vmon. This one is super good. When your Digimon becomes unsuspended, and this is in the materials, you gain a memory. So since Vmon is all about that unsuspension, you're going to get a whole lot of extra smash by playing this one. Next we're playing the 4-off starter deck Vmon, the buy bait I call these. They are probably one of 4 reasons why people should buy the Imperialdramon starter deck whenever they come in stock, because once that starter deck is sold out, you'll only have those promo Eldarts ways to get these, and they are so good. Unplay, reveal top 3, and pick up a free card, which is literally anything evolving Weemon, evolving Stingmon, and a whole lot of other cards that will be coming soon. So you really want to get your pickups on those. Last of my rookies, I'm running 2 of this Weemon. This is also a free drop, and it picks up a 2-colored blue card from the top 4 cards of your deck. So I really just only want to Digivolve on the first one, and then just hard play the others, just to keep that flow of my hand advantage going. This is only 10 rookies, but that's because I don't really feel like rookies is the way to go. I know a lot of people are fans of the jamming Weemon as well, but I think that's more for armor builds, because this deck doesn't have to be aggro. Yeah. Moving into champions, we got 4 of the jamming X Weemon. So this thing, on the other hand, is a ridiculous jamming card. Like this wasn't test proofed, I think, with the new cards. So what this does is it has jamming on its own, and it gives jamming to any Imperialdramon or free in its when it's in the materials. So what you do is you strike with this, then you DNA Digivolve on top of it, getting the unsuspend, getting more jamming strikes. It's really ridiculous. Good thing is it's only 4000 power, that's the redeeming thing, and it's a cost 5 champion, so it's easy to run over for your opponent. And it's also removable by a lot of the restrictive removal cards in the game that apply -4000. Then I'm going for Lydramon. I really don't like that this is called Lydramon because I'm Danish. Growing up, this was called Raydramon, as it is in the Japanese version, and I only just learned as an adult that it's called Lydramon somehow in the English dub. So that really annoyed me. It is a Digivolve 3, 2 from a Vmon, so you will always Digivolve for 2 in this deck. And it has the new armor purge effect, which is when this thing dies, it trashes itself, and then Vmon will remain on board, which is really insane, because then you can Digivolve on top of that Vmon again. Also, when Digivolving, you get to suspend a level 4 or lower of your opponent's Digimon, which is really good in the mirror match, so you can pick off X Vmons, and is really good against armors, so you can pick off those Magnamon and such that would be blocking you using their walls. It's also fairly decent against yellow security, against Myotismon, where you can stop their stacks. Basically anything that runs a stack except maybe for most purple decks, because they run the scatter mode, Ice Mode scatter mode, and killing that will just give them more cards, so don't do that. Right, last 4 champions, I'm running 12 in this deck. I'm running 4 Digimon. Now this is both a perfectly good Digivolution target because it's a cost 2 from the blue, so you can actually go green on top of blue, which is really nice. And if you have a blue card in play, it's a cost 3 champion instead of a cost 4, meaning that if you have your memory tamer and it becomes your turn, you will get to hardcast this, and that reasonably enables your DNA Digivolutions. Also, you draw if you have a blue Digimon in play when striking, and since all of the ultimates and megas of this deck, almost all, have blue in their colors, you will be drawing a lot of cards, and it's not a once per turn inherited effect, which is just insane. Right, that's it, 12 champions, and that's the deck. No, it's not. Next up, ultimates. I'm running 2 Dino Bees. I was testing with Chimeramon to get more control on the board, but the thing is, it's not searchable by either of the Weemons. And so it would sort of raise the rate at which I whiffed, and that could lose me games. And so now I've gone for the Dino Beast. Now, what sucks about these is that they're 4-cost ultimates if you do not DNA Digivolve towards them. If you DNA Digivolve, you need to put your green on top of your blue, draw, and then you get to suspend one of your opponents, and if you DNA Digivolved, then that target doesn't unsuspend. So if you're DNAing this, you actually get the lockdown on maybe a blocker or something that you really don't want to get struck by. Also, its inherent effect is plus 1000 for each color the Digimon has, so that's kind of decent, but not ultimately good. I definitely see this once there's some other choices of the same color. I definitely see this going out. 2 of those. Last 4 for ultimates, only running 6 of those, is the starter deck Imperialdramon. Whosoever playtested this, you do not deserve your paycheck, young man. This is horribly broken. So it's only 8000 power, yes, but its effect. Okay, so cost 4, once again to Digivolve, which is still not enough for this. It has when attacking unsuspended, so it basically enables double jamming if you have the X-Weemon champion. And if you have the X-Weemon, the Weemon rookie, you also get a memory. So you deal 2 jamming damage, which means this thing doesn't die to anything aside from options. And you gain a memory. And also, when you DNA Digivolve into this, you actually get to take one of your opponent's cards at 6000 DP or less and return it to the bottom of the deck. This would have been good if it suspended it. It would have been good if it bounced it to the hand. Heck, it didn't need that part. It's a removal damage 2 for 0 cost because of the DNA Digivolve. Oh, also you have to blue on top of green with this one, but yeah, it's going to be relevant against like 3 cards that you'll probably see. But these things are the reason I think this deck is broken, which is proven by the fact that armor decks run, I think, just as well, sometimes better than Imperialdramon, and still uses this one. Like, even if you're running armors, you will be running this, and I'm like thinking, it doesn't have to be Weemon specific. I'm thinking any deck that runs blue with a tint of green or green with a tint of blue would benefit from running this thing, because it is 2 attacks and a removal at the same time, and it draws a card because it's still a Digivolution. Like, the DNA Digivolving really needed a bit more testing. I think it should not have been cost 0, and it should not reset every effect. So now we're going into the megas, and here I'm a thematic player. Remember that, please, as we approach the Imperialdramon Dragon mode. This is the secret wear from BT3. It's a cost 5 to Digivolve, but only cost 3 if you do go on top of Imperialdramon or Dino B, which you will always do here. It has piercing, and when you Digivolve to it, it unsuspends every card you have with piercing, including itself. So when you Digivolve to this for free, it unsuspends, and then it has piercing. Piercing isn't really that good with this deck, but I found thematically it would be fun to run the green Imperialdramon Dragon mode, even if it's a green card, so you really only have a few ways of fetching this as it is in blue. There's also a few effects that won't trigger with this Digimon and such, so it's a one-off funny thing, and it's particularly good against decks where you can run over their megas. If you don't have the lethal opportunity, you can still use this as sort of a removal spell for cost 3, and that's pretty okay. So next up we have the Dragon mode, which is a super rare from the same set, and I think this should have been the secret, and the other one the right, and this one the super rare, because piercing is not as good as jamming, and this thing does exactly the same as the other. Cost 5 to digivolve to, cost 3 if you're digivolving on Imperialdramon or Dynabee. Then it has jamming, and when you digivolve 2, you unsuspend all your jamming. This thing is ridiculous, and it's so weird how the sets match up, right? Because secret and super rare, there should have been a big power gap. But the thing is, since everything gets jamming from XVmon, you can strike like 3 or 4 times, then go into this thing and unsuspend your entire board. And that's ridiculous if you have enough memory gainers in to keep at it. I'm also running this Dragon mode from the Collector's Edition. I think you're seeing where I'm going with this, right? It's a cost 3 to make, and when you digivolve to it, if it has a 3 in its materials, you unsuspend it and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. It gets plus 1,000 for each color in its Digivolution cards. So if you have a blue and a green, it'll get plus 2,000. That brings it to a 13, and it unsuspends on play and suspends something. So that's once again pretty damn decent. And it's blue, so it draws off of Stingmon. So just a bit of a fun card there. And also one of these starter deck Imperialdramon Dragon mode. Radiant Seal, why are you only running one of the busted one? Because this is a more thematic deck, which is hilarious to play one of each dragon. So when you make this, it's cost 4, and that's actually also one of the reasons why I think 1 is enough, maybe 2. I could go 2 when I don't want to be particularly thematic that day. Probably would remove the secret for the second one, competitively speaking. Because this is cost 4 to make, you will often pass turn when doing this. But when you digivolve 2, you get to play 2 of its level 4 or lower materials, and you do get unplay effects. So let's see if you had this thing in the materials through some means, and then perhaps a Stingmon, then you could play those out and re-enable some more Digivolution draws and such, and get some fetching, which is quite nice. I've been looking for a champion level 4, which would be good for the deck, that you could play to get more searches off as you play this, but I still haven't found one that I'm quite satisfied with yet. So yeah, pretty fun to, if you want to keep your DNA Digivolutions going, but it does require that more memory. Okay, so next up we got 2 fighter modes. These are cost 5, only 2 if you play them on top of a Dragon mode, and this is also why I have so many Dragon modes in the deck. When you digivolve this, you get to bounce one of your opponent's Digimon with DP 10,000 or less to their hand. When it attacks, if there's a blue card in your Digivolution materials, you get to unsuspend it. And if there is a green, you get to suspend one of your opponents. So once again, more of this multicolor shenanigans. This is sort of a finishing bullet. It's like the Blitz Omnimon sort of this deck. Aside from the fact that you actually can't, unless you have a specific Tamer on board, you can't just cast into it and strike after you've struck. I mean, you have to like really time how you play this thing out to get the hit on it. But it gets a lot of effects. And then I'm running 1 secret rare Paladin mode. I wanted to play at least one of every Imperialdramon I had in my collection. So this is a cost 7 to make, so it better be damn good. When digivolving, you can bounce one of its level 6 materials. So optimally you would go from Dragon to Fighter to have as many level 6 materials as possible, and then go up to the Paladin. When digivolving, when attacking, bounce one of your level 6 materials to hand, to trash a material from all your opponent's Digimon, and bounce all of those that do not have any materials to the bottom of the deck, I believe. Yeah, bottom of the deck in chosen order. So this is insane against so many decks, and I feel like if you do not see the use for this now, make sure to pick up 2 to 3 at least for the next format, because when 3 Musketeers get their buffs, you will want to bounce those down to the bottom of the deck. If those BT8+Starmons start cursing you out, you really want to have these in hand. So I feel like their price is going to spike once that set comes out, but for now they're mostly a fun card because there aren't that many decks right now that scale on having this many out. Yeah, but those were the megas and level 7s. Now we're going into options. We are playing one hidden potential discovered. This is the most likely way you're going to one turn straight from champion into mega and even into the level 7 secret. So when it reads that when the next time this turn that you want to Digivolve into a green Digimon, you can suspend one of your other Digimon to reduce the cost of the Digivolution by 5. So you can't use this to go to the secret, but you can use it to go into a champion. No, not champion, mega. So you can use it to go into the Imperialdramon fighter mode for 0, and that's the most likely thing I'm ever doing with this because it's just insane. Like once you have, if you DNA into Imperialdramon for cost 0, and then you pop this off after striking with it once, suspending one of your Vmon or something else, then you pop into the fighter mode, strike, unsuspend again, so you get to unsuspend 2 or 3 times, and then strike with jamming, and it's just insane, right? So for the control portion of my options, I'm running 2 Megadeth. I tested at 4, but too many got stuck in my hand, and this deck, I mean, it's good to have, particularly in a mirror match, to reset people's stacks, but that's the most useful thing about it. So what it does is cost 5, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and bounce another one to the bottom of that deck. No, to their hand. What's so useful about this is that it can actually save 2 lives if you're getting like armor rushed. You can suspend 1 armor and then take one of their other armors that maybe had security attack buff or something and put it on the bottom of the deck before they manage to do the armor switch. And that's pretty useful. Against Mastemon, this is just a beast because that deck really needs to keep setting up their hand. So running into this really ruins their day. It also can take away their Lucimon and make it more difficult to play and such, so that's really nice. Next up, Blue Staple Hammer Spark. Like when this game came out, what is it, like 2 years ago now? I was so freaking certain that this would stay a staple until the end of days. Like, it's a 0 cost gain a memory, or gain 2 if it's in security. That's crazy already because this deck is so reliant on the memory gauge. This game is so reliant on the memory gauge being where you want it to be, and this is the card in the game that has the easiest time fixing that because it is a cost 0 with no additional cost. Like you have Blinding Light on yellow, that or Blinding Rays or Light Rays, what's it called, where you burn a security stack card and then get +2. But that costs that, and it doesn't have a security effect. This is a starter deck card that's been printed, I think, 2 or 3 times in starter decks now. And you gain 2 memory and security from it as well, so it's actually capable of stealing away your turn from the turn from the opponent. This card is why you want to run your Gazimons, your Terriermons. This is why you need those memory blockers, because otherwise you're going to get Hammer Sparked into submission. Those are my options. They're very focused on controlling or accelerating. Moving into Tamers, you have the standard package, and that's where we're going to round off. I'm playing 3 Davis. This thing is so insane. Once again, did they actually think about this card when testing for decks? Wow. So on play, check top 3 and add a blue and a green card to your hand. That is just insane. Like any card that picks up top 3 and just take 2 cards is insane. But oh, that's just stupid. And that's a memory tamer to boot. Like I would probably still play this if it was cost 3 and only had to pick up the cards. It didn't need the memory tamer part. But I get it. It wasn't that broke when it came out and said 1.5. Or it's a boost 3, I think. That wasn't. Yeah, that was the BT3. But it's only going to get stronger as this game progresses, because anytime they release a blue-green now, they have to think, oh, is this going to get rigged by Davis? And it most likely is. I foresee a future in which this goes to limited or banned. Preferably limited, since I'm not a fan of outright banning cards, but yeah. And the final 4 cards of the deck are Davis and Ken. this Tamer is just insanely cool. Like, if you have a blue Digimon in play at the start of your main phase, so after racing from the breeding area, you get a memory. And same thing again if you have a green Digimon in play. So it's a +2 Tamer, and it has an additional effect. Once again, it didn't need the additional effect to actually be good. +2 memory is very decent in and of its own. When it is this easy to set up, like you have the Soramini, which is hella difficult to set up compared to this one, because your opponent can just like hardcast a champion or rookie, and then, well, you're not getting your memory. This thing, the only thing you need is like a Raydramon in your Lightramon in your nursery breeding area, and then you move that out, and then you get your memory. Like, you get +2 for each of these. Like, many games will go like this, and I'm at 7 every turn, which is just insane. Sorry about that. I have a bit of a cough today. But it gets worse, because during your turn, when you digivolve into a multicolor card, you can suspend this to play that card as unsuspended. So what you do, once again, DNA digivolve, you strike with XVmon, DNA into Imperialdramon, strike twice with that, with jamming, then you suspend this to go into your dragon mode, preferably using your... no, not using that yet. Yeah, and then that comes into play as unsuspended. And then you strike with that. And then you finish off by using Hidden Potential Unleashed, suspend another card, use this to digivolve it as unsuspended, and then you have another attack. It's just crazy. That's why this deck has the easiest OTKs in the entire Digimon card game, I think. Anywho, that was my Imperialdramon deck. I want to mention that we play best of ones of my locals, so this deck is of course tuned to do that, and it's also sort of a thematic local, so there's a lot. We are quite a few beginners, so that's also why I'm not running every meta choice. Like, I could of course include the Kumamon to play on top of a Davis that has resolved his effect if I get more for finishing, but I'm choosing not to do that, also because of that. I'm definitely weighing that option. Anywho, that was my deck. I hope you enjoyed this profile. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave your comments below of what you think of this style of video, as I'll probably be doing more sometime soon in the future. My name's been Radiant Sela, and I'll see you next time, Tamers.